Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We can see this channel start to go into a new direction. I mean, I really love exploring the MBTI and everything, but as most of you know, I'm all about the human condition as well. So I just want to thank all of you guys for persevering with me and for watching some of my other content that I'm really enjoying exploring as well. Just recently, I had done a podcast with my dad. If you want to check that out, I've linked it above. Now, I'm on my way to 28. I'm not yet 30, but I have spent the greatest portion of my 20s really changing and thinking about life completely differently from when I was 19 years old. Now, in my defense, I did have my kids quite young. I had my daughter when I was 20 and my son when I was 23. And therefore, I had an extra responsibility that kind of taught me about life and about grinding and surviving from an early age. I thought because I've done the high school survival guide for the INFP, I thought it'd be kind of cool to explore my journey through my 20s and discuss with you guys what I have learnt as I've grown. Despite me having my own very unique experiences through my 20s, your experience is going to be different. If you are yet to turn 20, you are going to have a much different experience than myself. Even if you are an empath or a highly sensitive person like me, your experience is going to be different. And I guess that kind of starts off my first point. My worldview is much different than yours. And I think, how amazing is it that we are so different, but yet in our differences, it makes us the same. And all these different experiences and journeys all bring us together as one people, as the same, as humanity. Part of our unique human experiences that make us different yet the same is the fact that we all experience human suffering. I entered my 20s completely idealistic. I was an idealist. I was naive, and naturally so. There's nothing wrong with being that way, because what I was going through in my teens all the way up until my 20s, I learned very important lessons. But that experience was so much different to what I started to go through as I entered my mid to late 20s. I was idealistic in the fact that I thought, if only I could ... then I'll be happy. I think we all end up falling into that trap. The fact that we think if we have that next thing, it'll transform our lives and make us happy. But the fact of the matter is that no matter how much we have, no matter how much money, no matter where we live, no matter who we surround ourselves by, we are always going to continue suffering, because suffering is at the core of the human experience. It's what actually brings us together. While we can't get rid of suffering indefinitely, we can connect with others based on the fact that we all suffer. We can come together and we can give compassionately to others because we know that others are suffering also. You know what completely sucks about social media, and part of the reason I have been affected by social media myself, is that social media pretends that people don't suffer. You log into Instagram and you see these Instagram models or whatever living these luxurious, lavish lives. But because nobody can actually escape human suffering, it's a false narrative. And as human beings, when we see these messages every single day, we end up believing them. We end up believing even more so that we have to chase that next thing in order to be happy. I suffer a lot. I have mental illnesses. I struggle on a day-to-day basis with trying to survive. Like, I'm in constant survival mode. But I connect with others based on the fact that they too feel that they're in survival mode. And I've met amazingly intelligent people through my own suffering. When I put myself out there and I have others write to me and tell me that my content can help them because they're suffering, I feel like I am living the human experience that I'm supposed to be living. The one where I can connect with others and make their suffering okay. We learn through our suffering. We learn really important lessons to help others get through their own hardships. That's what being human is all about, and that's what connecting with others is all about. I personally wouldn't trust anyone who hasn't gone through any kind of significant suffering, because what is it that they've learned that they can help others with? Another thing that I've learned through being in my 20s is that you can't force others to change their worldviews or see things the way that you do. You can't force people to change, even though you can see a little glimmer of hope in them. You can't force people to change because you want them to. The only thing that you can control is your own actions. The only thing that you can control is how you respond to other people's behavior. That's it. You will always interact with people who you don't like or who don't like you. You'll always interact with people who don't see eye to eye with you and who aggravate you, who hurt you, and who challenge you on a daily basis. We see this a lot in the workplace or in school or even in a family group or in a friends group. Everyone on this planet is different, and that's the beauty of it. Even if you don't like them, everyone offers something to this world that is what our world needs. Even if that becomes something that we personally learn from and that we can take away as an experience that can add to our human journey and lessons that we can pass on to others. I'm an incredibly sensitive person. I'm an empath. The last thing I want to do is hurt anyone. The last thing I want to do is upset anyone. And because of that, because of the sensitivity that I've had, I have been a target of so many abuse. And so much so that it made me feel incredibly depressed and made me end up thinking, is this actually what life is? Is life being in dead-end jobs where you have to face people that you don't like every single day, that hurt you every single day? Sometimes it is. But it's all about how you respond to it. For me personally, my is through life, whether I was bullied at school, in the workplace, or even from my own friends, what I learned from that is self-acceptance. What I learned from that was I don't have to change. I don't have to change to fit other people's narratives. I would like to change certain behaviors that may affect others in a negative way, but I'm not going to fundamentally change who I am because they don't deserve me. They're not growing my corn. So why should they deserve my energy? It's incredibly exhausting trying to fit into a mold when you realize that even the mold that you're trying to fit into, others aren't going to like that either. So what is the point? You may as well just be yourself. So I had come to accept the sensitivity of mine. I had come to accept the fact that I am quirky, that I'm empathic, and that, I do things in a really odd way. James is the first to kind of remind me, look, Lex, part of the reason why you may not have a big friend circle is because you're really unique. But it's cool because you're yourself. You know what? That is exactly the way I like it, because I have gone through so many bouts of trying to fit into something where it just kind of like backfired and I don't want anything to do with it anymore because I was exhausted. So yeah, while my friend group is really small, it doesn't bother me all that much because I know that I'm who I am and I'm my best friend. And that really, at the end of the day, you can't really trust anyone as much as you can trust yourself and to rely on yourself. So friendships being my next one. People come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. You may have one of those friends that that you can not see for years on end. And then when you're like 80 years old, it's like no time has passed. Those are the friends that are truly there for you, even if you've hit rock bottom and lost absolutely everything. True friends stick by you no matter what happens. When I had my kids, I lost a lot of friends. And people will leave you. People are going to leave you when you start settling down. If you get a job that they may not value so much, friends are going to leave you if you don't hold much weight socially standing. What I've learned is that many people's own interest is themselves. And it's really hard to 100% rely on what you may consider your friends in your life. And the best way to really know who's truly going to stick around when the shit hits the fan are those people who are there for you for life. I've learned through my 20s that my best friend is myself, that the one I can fundamentally rely on is me. While I've lost many people in my life through my own suffering, I had also gained many people as well. And these are people from overseas. These are people who I've met through this channel, through Instagram, and probably people whom I'm never going to meet in real life, which is a real shame. But I had always wondered, why can't I find these kinds of people where I live in Auckland? It's incredibly frustrating, but at the end of it, you put yourself out there as you being you and not trying to fit into a mold, and that's where you truly find the people who are going to see you. Another thing I've learned is that the world doesn't owe me I came into my 20s expecting life to go all right, I guess. I had hopes, I had dreams. Have I lived any of them? No, I haven't. As a millennial growing up, the one thing I can criticize our parents for, or the boomer generation for, is the fact that they told us that we could be absolutely anything we wanted without instilling the ability to take criticisms and the ability to be able to take falls. There are so many millennials out there who have made it and who can take those big hits. But for someone like me, I never did. I went to uni as a solo mother and studied anthropology with the premise that I was going to end up being an ethnographer somewhere in Africa. I mean, what an amazing thing. I love that idea. In an ideal world, perhaps. But an ideal world does not exist. And that is something I have learned through my 20s. Another thing I've learned is that I can't change the world. I spoke to my dad the other day on the phone, and he said that he gets really upset when he thinks about politics because he wishes he could do something to change the world. And while we can march and while we can protest and while we can do all these kind of little things in the world, which does make an impact, as an individual, we can't change what other people do. All we can do is change ourselves. All we can do is change how we personally respond to things. There's that saying, be the change you wish to see in the world. And that means all you can change is yourself. All you can do is be the change that you wish to see. And if other people like it, well then you've influenced someone. That's all you can do. Another thing I've learned in my 20s is that there's no guarantees in life. Again, life is about suffering. Life is about getting through things. That's constantly how it feels on a day-to-day basis. While there are happy moments, when I look at my life in a fundamental sense, it's me trying to get through it. With C-19 hitting and all, there are so many people that have lost their homes, lost their investments, lost their lives. I've been to 3 funerals this year already, and it really puts things into perspective when you know it doesn't matter what you do in life, there are no guarantees. I think what I felt as I was a teenager coming into my 20s is that I was invincible. It was like no matter kind of what action I would do, there wasn't really any consequences to it. Like I completely lived in the present. And I had that idealistic sense of life that, okay, if 1 + 1 = 2, then 2 + 2 = 4. Thinking that life would end up being an exponential growth like that. But it's really not. Life chews you up and it spits you out. And if I would have known that as a teenager, I would have made some different decisions. I have lost so much in my life because there's no guarantees. But one thing I have gained from it is experience, is something that I can share with others so that I might help someone. And to me, that's what it's about. It's not about gaining anything. All I want is to be able to share. Another thing I've learned is that humans are incredibly complex. We're not good and bad. We're not right or wrong. We kind of just are. And it doesn't matter if you disagree with someone. They are the way that they are because they're human beings and they've lived a completely different experience from us. With our uniqueness, with our differences, this is what makes us the same. You know, it's a little bit of an irony, really, because if we look at humans as individual people with differences, then they're different. But then we're all the same in the fact that we are different. These differences make us really imperfect beings. And it's in that imperfection that we're all equal, that we're all the same. That's what I love about exploring the human condition. That is what I love about running this channel, because I love to talk about the imperfections that we have, the differences that we have, because it's all about validating those experiences and saying to you guys, you're fine just the way you are. I had actually recently done a podcast with a presenter called Ricky from Connections Untold. Ricky explores the trials and tribulations of the human experience on his podcast, where he will invite his guests to talk about their experience in life, ranging from addiction to owning a business and to getting through human suffering. Ricky's objective is to shed light on what it means to be a human, to validate the human experience, and to talk about the things in life that we usually don't talk about. So I had recently been on his podcast to talk about this specifically, to talk about my experience through lockdown and how I've struggled in life based on my experience as a sensitive introvert and someone who has mental illnesses such as ADHD and postpartum depression. If you want to check out the podcast with Ricky, I've linked it in the description below. I see the world for what it is, and although I wish I could change so many things, I understand that I can't. I can't change the world, and it's not my mission to change the world. But knowing that there's so much suffering and that the human condition isn't exactly the most comfortable experience, it has impacted me mentally and emotionally. I have faced thoughts. I have faced the most darkest place I could ever be in. I have faced addiction. I have faced losing friends and family. I have faced losing what felt like my entire life and not knowing how to get it back. I have faced feeling 100% stuck, not being able to move forward. And there are times where I will review my life and I think, God, is this it? Is this it? And it might be. But that's the way that it is. And I've come to accept it. I've come to accept that human suffering that we all go through. But to know that you all go through that too is my way to connect with all of you and to say, I see you. So I hope you guys got something out of this video. If you have your own experience, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. You may have a very different worldview to me, and I want to hear all about it. But for now, I hope you have a good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you guys are in the world, and I'll see you all again for the next video. Bye.